What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for March 5th, 2023. As you are listening to this, I posted this from the airport. I am probably flying high over the United States on the way to Mexico. So I don't have an update for the Sixers-Bucks game or the Union-Inter Milan match. Hopefully, we are celebrating the Sixers beating the Bucks and the Union beating Inter Milan, but I will have more on these games tomorrow. As I mentioned, I am flying to Mexico for the week. Will be posting. I did some tests with different. I'm not taking my full setup down there. That's just ridiculous to try to maneuver and do. But I did do some tests. The sound quality is not going to be as good. Obviously, if you're watching, you're not going to see me in my normal background, but I will be posting every day, every morning, same kind of deal. Might be a little bit later than what it would be on a normal week, but you will still get this day in Philly sports history every day. So tomorrow I will update the Sixers, Bucks, and the Union Inter Milan. The new look Flyers take on the Red Wings tonight at the Wells Fargo Center. Still trying to process and dig through what happened with packing and everything. I didn't really get a chance to look and see what they officially did at the trade deadline. But I know a lot of the guys they did trade, they got some draft picks back in, and a lot of them were going to be free agents at the end of the year. So the fact that they got anything for them is good. I know James Van Riemsdyk is still on the team, and you would have liked to have gotten something for him. Apparently they were close to a trade and it fell through, but more on that as sort of the details. I'm anxious to see what they look like tonight playing. But for the rest of the show, we are going to go all Temple. And first, on this day, March 5th, 1987, the number 8 Temple Owls beat the West Virginia Mountaineers 70-57 to win the Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament Championship. Mike Vrieswick had 21, Howie Evans 20, Nate Blackwell also threw in 19. This was John Chaney's second Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament Championship since taking over for the Owls. And this was a very underrated, sneaky good team for Temple. They were still a year away from being the following years when they were the number 1 seed and number 1 overall in the tournament, ranked number 1, and went on the run to the Elite Eight. But this was a very, like I said, very underrated team. They were a 2 seed in the tournament. In the first round, they beat Southern, and then they were upset by the 10 seed LSU. And as I'm kind of putting the notes and getting everything together, definitely had flashbacks to 2000 when they were the 2 seed, got beat by Ty Shine and Seton Hall. But they were in a tough bracket. And I don't know whether that was because of the lack of respect or whether it just was sort of the luck of the draw. They would have had to go through Indiana, who ended up winning the national championship that year. But still, you can't be losing to the 10 seed LaSalle. And it just goes back to what Chaney's teams always seem to do. It's almost like, with the exception of that 87-88 team that was number 1, whenever he had a good team, they always found themselves getting caught up in whatever. And I don't know if he was one of those guys who played better or coached better as the underdog, but most of his Elite Eight runs came as sort of a lower seed that got hot and caught some teams by surprise. So it just something that I've noticed in my times as a Temple fan, that a lot of times when they were the higher ranked team, that's when they got into trouble. But when they were that underdog, like a 10 seed or a 9 seed or an 8 seed, that's when they would go on their runs. But on this day, the Temple Owls won their second Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament Championship under John Chaney, and they were about to be great that following year. All right, so today's Philly Sports Women's History Spotlight. We are going to take a look at Dawn Staley. We talked about her last month for Black History Month. We talked about the 3 Philly Public League titles she won at Dobbins. She did play at Virginia, made the 3 Final Four appearances, National Player of the Year in 1992. She had a great professional career. She spent 11 years in the WNBA. She played overseas. She was on all the anniversary teams. She was a first-round pick, 6-time All-Star. And one of the things I think is great is while she was playing, She won, or she was coaching Temple. They won 4 A10 titles, 6 tournament appearances. She was a 2-time A10 Coach of the Year. She really turned that program around. And because of that, she was able to parlay that into the head coaching job at South Carolina. And since she's been at South Carolina, they're a 2-time champion. They just won last year. They also won in 2017. They've made it to 4 Final Fours, 6 SEC championships. And again, very similar to what she did at Temple, turned that program around. They're definitely a national powerhouse now when it comes to women's college basketball. She won Coach of the Year in 2020 as well as last year. And to be honest, she's just, and I know we talked about her in Black History Month as well. And I felt it was important to bring her up again for Women's History Month because to me, she's just one of the greatest and most accomplished female athletes ever to come out of Philadelphia, probably in this whole area, the state of Pennsylvania, and to be completely blunt, one of the most accomplished female athletes in the country. So shout out to you, Dawn Staley, for just the inspiration and just showing, because she's not as tall as a lot of the basketball players you would expect. So like just having that perseverance, we talked a lot about that with Allen Iverson, and just showing that if you put your mind to something, you can accomplish great things. So thank you, Dawn Staley, for all you have done, not only for women, but for everybody in the area, because you are definitely an inspiration. And as somebody who has ties to Temple, I know just how much you meant to so many people at Temple. So thank you for that. On this day, March 5th, 1987, the Temple Owls won their second Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament championship under John Chaney. Hopefully, we are celebrating the Sixers and Bucks. If we're not, and if the Bucks beat the Sixers and it was a crappy game, go back and listen to Back to the Future. Last week's episode, we did sort of the state of the process, and it ties right in. If they won, listen to it anyway, just because it's still good listen, and we'll kind of trying to figure out this team's identity. But I'll have more on that game as well as the Union tomorrow. Go have yourselves a Sunday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.